Hello and welcome to another episode on FPL Chats. My name is Josh and today I'm going to be speaking about game week 15 and 16, the fixtures and forms of the teams, and also any differential transfers that we can target before the World Cup starts. So let's get into it. So on screen you can see the fixtures coming up for the teams, last two fixtures, and we want to try and make the most of it. So I've circled the teams that are in form at the moment. In the brighter green are teams that I think are in very good form, and the lime green I think are teams that are steadily improving. So starting with Bournemouth, so they've got two good fixtures coming up against Leeds and Everton. I think Bournemouth are in pretty good form. They lost against Spurs 3-2, but in that game they scored two fantastic goals. Spurs are not an easy team to score against. So yeah, promising signs for Bournemouth in my opinion. In that Leeds game, Leeds are quite weak at set pieces. And Bournemouth has some strong centre forwards like Kiefer Moore and Solanke who can definitely get some headed goals. Brighton, I think that Brighton are a team again improving. They got their first win against Chelsea in their last game, 4-1 they scored, which was fantastic for them. I think their next two fixtures coming up against Wolves and Aston Villa are winnable games from their perspective. But I would say that I think I prefer the Brighton defenders for these next two games, particularly against Wolves away. They'll be looking to keep a clean sheet there. And then Villa are very unpredictable at the moment, so yeah, perhaps some joy for Brighton defenders coming up. Crystal Palace, I think they're a team that are winning the games that they're meant to win and losing the games that they're meant to lose at the moment. Unfortunately for them, their form is at home, but they've got two away fixtures coming up, West Ham and Nottingham Forest. You'd have to say, from Patrick Vieira's point of view, they would have to win that Nottingham Forest game. I think anybody going away to Nottingham Forest would expect to win. The West Ham game is more tricky. So I think maybe one Crystal Palace attacker is worth a punt on in the next couple of weeks before the World Cup. Everton, I think, are on fantastic form. I think Everton, considering the squad that they have, considering the work that Lampard's done and the transfers that they've made, I think that they are a very well drilled team, very well organised, and they've been doing some really promising defensive performances recently. So they've got two games coming up against Leicester and Bournemouth away. The Leicester game, I think, is a 5:30 kickoff on a Saturday. I think that the Everton fans will be just starting to get on the pop before kickoff, and I think there will be a fantastic atmosphere for them there at that stadium. I think Leicester will really struggle in that game, so maybe Everton attacker or defender for that game coming up. And then again, Bournemouth away, you'd expect Everton to do well at the back in that game, I'd have to say. So maybe an Everton defender on the horizon for your teams. Fulham, I think Fulham are in good form, but unfortunately they are coming up against the best in the league in Man City, and they're coming up against another in-form side in Manchester United. Unfortunately, I don't think Fulham assets are a consideration for these game weeks. Leicester, I think, are in very good form. I think Brendan Rodgers has sorted out their defensive frailties. They're not conceding many, but they're also not scoring too many at the moment either. And with two away fixtures coming up in Everton and West Ham, I can maybe see one clean sheet for Leicester across these two games, but I don't predict too many goals, and it wouldn't surprise me that if they lost these games as well, considering they are away from home. Um, Moving on to Manchester City, I think Man City are the informed team. I think everybody should own at least two assets, if not three assets, of Man City in this time. Fantastic home fixtures, fantastic attacking form, defensive form, everything you want. Manchester United are steadily improving. I think they're in very good form, if I'm honest with you. They've been winning a lot of games 1-0, which is a testament to their character, especially when it gets to the later stages of games. They don't seem to buckle. They don't seem to let go of the lead that they have in that moment, which is a very good trait to have. So they've got two away fixtures, so Aston Villa and Fulham. From my opinion, I think these are very winnable games for Manchester United. They would be expecting to win them as well if they want to continue their top four hopes. So yeah, perhaps a Manchester United defensive asset and maybe even attacking asset as well. Maybe double up on Manchester United in the up and coming game weeks. Newcastle, I think, are probably my favourite team at this moment in time. They have been electric. They've been scoring goals for fun. They've been keeping clean sheets. There's a great camaraderie. The atmosphere, the environment around St James's Park is fantastic. It's great to see. They've got Southampton away and Chelsea at home. These two games are a bit of a unpredictable games, I would say, for the Chelsea one in particular, because Chelsea are just you can't predict them at the moment. Southampton have been better at home, but you would expect Newcastle to get something from that game. So I would suggest owning at least 2 or 3 Newcastle assets for these up and coming games. Callum Wilson looks in brilliant form. He's pushing to go to the World Cup. Finally, second from last is Spurs. They have been again a bit. They haven't been on their best form, but they've been winning games and winning games in the last minutes as well. Again, like Manchester United, shows good character, shows good strength and belief in their manager. They've got 2 home games coming up against Liverpool and Leeds, both leaky defences, you'd have to say. And I think Harry Kane will be licking his lips for these games coming up. So West Ham finally coming. I think 2 home games for West Ham suits them massively. They are very, very good defensively. They are fantastic from set pieces. And these 2 teams in Crystal Palace and Leicester have not been historically defensively solid from set pieces. I think West Ham can really prosper in these games coming up. In case you haven't noticed, on the right hand side, I've got some suggested fixtures that I think you can attack from a attacking perspective and defensive perspective. So you'd want players from these teams from an attacking perspective. I think the Bournemouth Leeds game has some goals in it for both teams. Brighton Villa, Brighton in that game, I would expect some goals from them. Palace against Forest, Man City, of course, Manchester United, Newcastle, Spurs. And then the defensive side of things, there's a couple of games in there for Everton, which I think I'll move on to the transfers and show you my Everton suggestion. Leicester against Everton as well. I think Leicester could maybe get a clean sheet in that game, but if they hold Everton off. But as I said earlier, I think Everton at home, 5:30 kickoff, the fans will be up for that one. So I think that might be quite tough for Leicester. Again, Newcastle, like I said, I think you need to own at least 1 defensive asset from them, and West Ham versus Palace. Moving on, so defenders, I think that Estepinian, he started the season really well, and everyone was kind of noticing him. Since then, he's been a bit quiet, and I think the transition of managers, he's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. But in that last game against Chelsea, he was outstanding. He was timing his runs from the left wing back side of things perfectly, and balls were just getting threaded through. Chelsea at right wing back, I think, was Pulisic. It's not his natural position, so Estepinian took full advantage of that. And he looked excellent, creating a lot of kind of dangerous opportunities. From a team perspective, the stats, expected goals against 16.1 for Brighton. That's within like 14 games. So just over a goal a game expected at conceding. And then shots against is 120 in those games. Reasonable stats from a Brighton perspective. And they've got Wolves and Aston Villa coming up next. You can certainly see some clean sheets. And maybe an attacking return from Estepinian. I really like him. Moving on to Patterson of Everton. As I said in the last clip, I think that Everton's fixtures over the next 2 are really good from a defensive point of view. But the stats for Everton in the games up until now have been poor from a XGA perspective. They've expected to concede 20 goals. I think they've actually conceded less than that, so they're doing better than what's expected. But a lot of teams are getting plenty of shots away, 210 shots against them, which is like almost double of what Brighton have conceded. That probably shows that Everton are getting a lot of good blocks in. They've got Cody and Tarkowski, who are very good defensive centre backs who get a lot of blocks in, along with Pickford, who's a fantastic shot stopper. So perhaps they're happy to let teams shoot to a certain extent, and they're getting a lot of blocks in. So maybe the stats are not completely clear in that respect. I also think Everton have been very, very organised. They are working hard as a team. They're defending as a team. They're attacking as a team. You can see Lampard has got them drilled, absolutely drilled. Patterson has just come back from injury. He is their first choice right back, and he's also only £4 million, so very cheap defender to own. Cresswell of West Ham, I think he's been somebody who has always provided an attacking threat, especially assists, because he takes corners and takes kind of long range crosses into Antonio or whoever the striker is going to be. Cresswell has got 2 good home games, and in those games they're facing Crystal Palace and Leicester. And Crystal Palace and Leicester have, I would say, been 2 of the worst teams in terms of defending set pieces this season. So Cresswell, if he's taking some corners and free kicks, then there's strong potential for assists for him. The XGA for West Ham as a team, 15.7, so it's the best out of these 3 teams. And then shots against, 150. Reasonable statistics. And Cresswell, I think, with 2 home games, probably a clean sheet and maybe an attacking return as well. So on to midfielders, and the first name on this list is one of my favourite players, Christian Eriksen. Brilliant player to watch. He just seems to be thinking a couple of steps ahead of the game, has a picture in front of him. His stats are, he hasn't got any goals this season quite yet. He has been playing a little bit of a deeper role, I would say, but he's got 3 assists. Expected goal involvement per 90 is 0.36. So for a kind of deeper lying midfielder, I'd say that's pretty reasonable. 1 goal every 3 games is expected to get. And then shots per 90, 1.65. So there is a chance of something from at least 1.5 shots a game. In the game coming up, Bruno Fernandes is suspended, which I think gives the possibility for Eriksen to actually play a more attacking role. I think he can definitely cause more damage and provide more output from that position. So Demarai Gray of Everton, he's only got 1 goal and no assists this season. He is taking a lot of shots, 2.01 shots per game, which is always positive. Expected goal involvement per 90 is 0.33. So again, same as Eriksen, around a goal a game he's expected to be involved in. I actually like him for this upcoming fixture against Leicester. It is his old club. You always see players tending to do well against their old clubs. He's at home as well. He's on a lot of set pieces for Everton. But I just think it's a good differential punt to go for if you're liking Everton at the moment. Albeit Everton don't score very many goals usually. They did beat Crystal Palace 3-0, but that was a bit of an anomaly. But maybe worth a punt. Finally, is my punts, Thomas Souček. He, again, another defensive midfielder who doesn't get many returns, although he's got more than Gray this year, 1 goal, 1 assist. Expected goal involvement is low of 0.24. And shots per 90, again, is quite low, is 1.23. I wouldn't be suggesting Thomas Souček for any other time of the year other than these 2 home games coming up against Crystal Palace and Leicester, who I think Thomas Souček is fantastic in the air. He will definitely have some chances coming up in these 2 games, 100% for it. It's just about whether he can take them or not. So along with Cresswell, I think both of them are fantastic set-piece options for these 2 home games for West Ham coming up. And finally, moving on to the forwards. It says midfielders up there, sorry. This is the forward section. So starting with Kiefer Moore. A bit of a rogue one maybe, as in going for a Bournemouth attacker, but I can't deny he looked fantastic against Spurs. Really, just confident and positive play. He was so dangerous in the air. He took his shot with his right foot really well, finessed it into the bottom right. Brilliant finish. And similar to West Ham, who pose an aerial threat, I think Bournemouth can pose one against Leeds in that game in particular. Maybe less so against Everton in their final game, but I wouldn't back against him in a home game against Everton either, because he looks so brilliant against Spurs. So Kiefer Moore, he's got 3 goals so far this season, 0 assists. A very low expected goal involvement per 90 of 0.22. That's actually lower than Thomas Souček's. I think that is a big bit down to Bournemouth's low output from goals perspective, and then shots per 90, 1.22. Awoniyi, he's probably one of my favourite differentials here. Don't think many people will be looking at him at all. Maybe a lot of people won't be looking at more either. But Awoniyi's got 2 home games, and I would say he's in really good form. Awoniyi, I think he's gone under the radar quite a bit, probably because he plays for Nottingham Forest. Yeah, 2 home games against I think it's Brentford and Crystal Palace. So I think Nottingham Forest will be looking at these games and really, really wanting to get something from it. They'll be working so hard, and they need goals for that. So far, Awoniyi's got 3 goals this season, no assists. An expected goal involvement per 90. I couldn't believe this when I read it, of 0.81. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So yeah, when he's on the pitch, he's a threat, and yeah, the stats are saying that he's expected to get a goal, nearly anyway per game. Shots per 90, he's taken 2.53 shots per 90. That's more than any other player I've suggested on this list. Yeah, it just looks good, doesn't it? I mean, he seems to pop up in the right place at the right time. He seems to have a little bit of a sense of goal. He scored one against Liverpool, which looked lucky in a sense, where it came off the post, but he was there, knocked it in. He scored, I think it was their first game against West Ham, where it came off the keeper again, and he was there, right place, right time, and just knocked it in. So yeah, Awoniyi seems to be getting the big chances, and he's converting a few of them. And then finally, Calvert-Lewin, again another Everton kind of attacker. I think that these games against Leicester and Bournemouth, Everton will be looking at to get something from for sure. He is their number 9 again. He's their main man. He started the last 2 games. He's played 90 minutes. He seems to be fit again, and he's got a goal. He's got a goal in his last couple. He got an assist. I'm not sure when he did that. Expected goal involvement per 90, 0.33. So yeah, from the little he's played, I think you should take these stats with a pinch of salt. I think the more that he does play, these statistics will go up for Calvert-Lewin. Shots per 90, 1.29. So I think that also there's a potential he'll be thinking about the World Cup. Maybe it's a really maybe it's a bit too far-fetched for him to reach the World Cup, but he's got to believe, and I think that there's no time to do it like the present, and I mean, against Leicester at home, he would be expecting to get some chances, and then Bournemouth away again. Why not? Why not push to get to the World Cup? And yeah, Callum Wilson seems to be doing it. So yeah, why not? Why not Calvert-Lewin? Honourable mentions for the forwards. I think Darwin and Havertz. Darwin, I've put them as kind of just not players that I'm strongly suggesting, because I think both of them are minutes risk. The worst thing you want to do is bring in a player and he doesn't start, right? So yeah, all the players that I have suggested I think are going to be playing 90 minutes. I realised I didn't go through the honourable mentions in the midfielders. So Son, unfortunately, he's injured. I think he would have been fantastic in their games against Liverpool and Leeds. I actually own him, very gutted when he got injured. Ben Rama, if you don't fancy Thomas Souček, Ben Rama of West Ham, I think he's got the potential in their 2 home games to really do some damage. He can be a bit frustrating to watch sometimes if you own him, because he might not finish the chances that he should. But definitely he's got the talent to do it. And then the honourable mentions within the defences, I think the Newcastle defence are excellent. If you don't own any of them, at least get one, I would strongly suggest. Manchester United defence as well. They have got 2 away fixtures, but yeah, I wouldn't put it past them to get a clean sheet. I think Dalot and Luke Shaw are great value at the moment. So thank you everyone for tuning in and watching. And I hope you have a fantastic game week. And yeah, take care. Bye for now.